I mean, with malice of forethought, he suggested that Putin call Trump before Trump's meeting with Zelensky. Trump was meeting with Zelensky on a Friday, and a couple of days prior to that, they had this conversation, and Witkoff urged Wickoff to have Putin get on the phone with Trump before the meeting with Zelensky because President Trump had said that he was considering providing the Ukrainians with Tomahawks.
Let's start with the Witkoff leak, because the narrative around Ukraine, Russia, is Donald Trump and the White House has been captured by Russia. Russia is setting the agenda. Russia is making demands. Steve Witkoff is a patsy for Russia. What do you think this leak shows us?
I think this leak shows us that Steve Witkoff is naive, frankly, about Russia. The transcript quotes him as saying that he thinks that Putin really wants peace, is eager to stop the war. When we know that Putin is not interested in stopping the war. Putin is interested in only stopping the war if Ukraine surrenders, capitulates. And I think Steve Witkoff does not understand that part of it. And there's no reason he should. I mean, there's a lot of reason he should. But from his background, you wouldn't expect to have that deep understanding. But you would expect him to take advantage of expertise at the embassy in Moscow or in the State Department to get up to, or to take a note taker into the discussions, which he apparently doesn't do. So he's not equipped to do this. He is instructed by his boss, President Trump, to get a deal. And is trying to get that. I take that. I understand that. But there's a context here. I mean, there's a reality in Ukraine here that one has to understand. And I'm not sure he's ever been to Ukraine. I don't think he's ever been to Ukraine. Witkoff.
He's never been to Ukraine at all.
I don't think so, and I don't think he's talked to Ukrainian officials.
So there's no part of you that thinks there's all sorts of diplomatic lubrication that needs to go on. You're a diplomat, you know this, that you got to talk cozily to one side, then cozily to another side, flatter one, then flatter the other. There's no way you can justify him talking to a Russian like this in the name of just trying to keep the wheels of diplomacy turning.
You know, I think he actually threw sand in the wheels of diplomacy. He intentionally, I mean, with malice of forethought, he suggested that Putin call Trump before Trump's meeting with Zelensky. Trump was meeting with Zelensky on a Friday, and a couple of days prior to that, they had this conversation, and Witkoff urged Wickoff to have Putin get on the phone with Trump before the meeting with Zelensky because President Trump had said that he was considering providing the Ukrainians with Tomahawks. And the Tomahawk missile goes deep and carries big warheads and is a serious weapon. And Putin didn't want that. Putin was spooked by that. I don't know if it had occurred to Putin before. Well, no one knows, of course. If it to try to call Trump to talk him out of it, but when Witkoff suggested that they call beforehand, and presumably Witkoff could make that happen. He could call back to the president's office and say, "Take this phone call, Thursday."
Are we veering into farce here, William? In that I feel it, I'm going slightly mad watching this, that we have all sorts of readouts and feedback from the that from the Trump administration, including the Europeans, even the Ukrainians getting dragged to it, where they go, "Oh, we're getting closer. We've amended a deal is coming." When actually we know there is a fundamental, irresolvable knot at the heart of this, that there is an illegal war. Russia is the aggressor. Russia wants the land. Russia's not giving away the land. Russia wants Ukraine out of NATO. Russia wants to make Ukraine weak. And actually, there is no talk in the world that is going to resolve the two positions of Ukraine wanting its land back and Russia wanting to benefit from its invasion.
Steve, I think that's right. Russia wants to eliminate Ukraine. Ukraine wants to exist. That's a fundamental. There's no compromise between them. That said, I do think there's progress in that. The Ukrainians and the Americans and the Europeans have now agreed on a position. It's 19 points. I don't know what's in them. I haven't seen them, but I've heard that it's much better than the 28 points that came out of the Russians given to Witkoff, and that was the initial U.S. position. That's no longer. Now that's discarded. Now it's 19, and it's got the support of the Ukrainians, Americans, and Europeans. Now, how to get the Putin to come to some kind of table? That's the question. And if things go as they are now, if stay as they are now, it won't happen. Those two sets don't intersect. But so what needs to happen is pressure on Putin.
So America needs to. So this is what it boils down to. America's got to believe in these 19 points and say to Putin, "You don't do this, we're coming for you, and you won't be able to survive it."
Absolutely. He has to be convinced that he cannot win, and Trump has leverage on it. I mean, we know that that Putin was spooked by the possible provision of Tomahawks. We know that last summer Putin was spooked by Trump putting the first set of secondary tariffs on the Indians for buying Russian oil, and that got him that got a phone call and got us set up for a meeting in Anchorage, Alaska. So we know that Trump has leverage. We know that Putin's worried about the sanctions. He's worried about the Tomahawks, and so Trump just needs to use that leverage to push him to say. And one last thing, the Europeans need to come up with a way to use that $300 billion of frozen Russian assets in European and mostly in Belgium, mostly in Euroclear Bank, to enable the Ukrainians to last for 3 years. That's 3 years of existence.
And stop buying Russian oil and gas.
Stop buying Russian oil. That's pretty much happening. Yeah, but you got the Hungarians and maybe Slovaks are buying Russian oil, but Europe is not buying Russian oil. But yeah, put the sanctions on India, put sanctions on Turkey, on Brazil, and China that's buying. Yeah, but you have to take those hard actions, which President Trump has only kind of tiptoed up to. I mean, he put those sanctions on Lukoil and Rosneft 3 weeks ago now, which has started having an effect on the oil markets.
You've got to believe it. You've got to believe. I mean, I think the fundamental issue we have here, William, is that you've got to believe that Trump thinks his role is to protect Ukraine in some ways because Ukraine has been sinned against by Russia. And actually, there's no evidence that he believes that to be his role or that to be the case.
You're right. There's no evidence to believe it. I'm not sure that's what we should be wanting. I'm not sure that's what we should expect or even think might happen. No, I don't think he's going to side with you, defend the Ukraine, protect the Ukrainians because they've been sinned against, since they've been invaded. No, I think what motivates Trump, and this is okay, Trump wants to stop the killing. He said that over and over and over. He wants to stop the killing, and he wants to win a prize. And if he can put the pressure on Putin to get that 19 points, which will leave Ukraine as a sovereign nation with a security guarantee, with prospects for joining the EU, if he can get that, then Trump deserves a prize. But that's the motivation. It's not because he thinks the global order is in jeopardy. No, or that there is some moral imperative to support the Ukrainians. No, it's because he wants to stop the killing. Good, that's we all do, and he wants to make history.
I should say happy Thanksgiving to you because Donald Trump said he wanted a deal by Thanksgiving. That's not going to happen. You wouldn't have thought.
That's not happening.
Wickoff's going to Russia next week. Give us a scale of optimism before you go William, what's happening? Is this going to move positively in the next couple of weeks with Witkoff going to Moscow? Do you have any hope?
I do have some hope. I have to have some hope. I do have some hope. I have some hope in Rubio. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor has the authority, and he exerted that authority last weekend in bringing the disparate threads together of U.S. policy in this area, because they were going in different directions. They were going towards the 28-point plan, and they had there was no input from the Europeans or no input from the Ukrainians. And Rubio took responsibility, took charge, and sat down with the Europeans and Ukrainians and came up with that plan. And the reason I have some hope is that that 19-point plan is now U.S. government policy. It is U.S. government policy. And what I hope will happen normally in U.S. government policy is Witkoff will take that document and go talk to Putin. And Secretary of the Army Dan Driscoll, will take that document, same document, and go talk to the Ukrainians. And they will all be working off the same document. And there's some hope that we can do it. But Witkoff has to have in his pocket the threat from Donald Trump to get tough with Putin if he resists.
And we've got to have faith in Witkoff, and that faith has now been severely questioned.
You're right. I don't have faith in Witkoff, but I do think that Trump wants this done, okay. And I think he's going to yell at Witkoff to get it done, and he's got to get it.
It's fascinating talking to you as ever. We always get a new perspective on these things. Great to speak to you. Thanks for taking the time.
Good to talk to you. We don't wish you a happy Thanksgiving, but we'll be thinking of you guys.